Gen Z are misunderstood. And I wanted to go through a few articles today that highlight some of the key statistics around Gen Z burning out and around why life may be so stressful for Gen Z and how companies can support them in the workplace to help reduce the chances of burnout and reduce the chances of them feeling stressed and reduce the chances of mental health challenges. So I wanted to start off by looking at this burnout report from 2025, and it reveals that there's a generational divide in levels of stress and work absence. And this article surveyed 4,418 UK adults, and they found that the risk of burnout remains prevalent, with 1 in 3 adults experiencing high or extreme levels of pressure or stress, always or often, compared with 35% the previous year. So it stayed the same from the previous 2 years. Meanwhile, 9 in 10, 91% experienced high pressure or stress at some point over the last year. 91%, 9 out of 10 people experienced high pressure in their job roles. How can companies support this? But let's go on specifically to look at some of the statistics related to Gen Z. And we've got a few articles that I want to show you and a few key statistics. But signs of a widening generational divide and breakdown in trust, with 18 to 24-year-olds most likely to be absent due to poor mental health caused by stress, amid a sharp decline in the likelihood they'd open up with line managers about stress levels. Gen Z are not likely, according to this research, to open up to managers about their mental health or their challenges. They're not likely to open up. Why is this? Is this because managers are not being supportive? Is it because Gen Z are more secretive than any other generation? I don't think so. Because, working firsthand in the industry, I know that people do open up. Companies have mental health first aiders that some individuals choose to use. But let's continue. This highlights how younger workers could be supported, as survey reveals 18 to 24-year-olds are most likely to say interventions such as reasonable adjustments, mental health training, and a supportive line manager help alleviate stress and prevent burnout. Gen Z just want support. They want support in their job roles. They want a supportive manager. They want a company who showcases that they care about their development, their growth, and their health, right? Before I go on to any of the further points on this, I wanted to just touch on some of the other articles, because this article here, nearly half of Gen Z workers reduced to tears by workplace stress. Tears! Because of this due to this is what this study shows. Young British professionals say generational tensions, lack of recognition, and criticism from older colleagues are leaving many overwhelmed and considering quitting within their first year. Now, organizations that know you, if you work in HR or you're a manager and you have an employee leave within the first year, we know how time consuming and frustrating that can be within the teams and organizations. And many Gen Z are considering quitting in the first year because they're not being supported. They're not willing to put up with unsupported workplaces. Nearly half of Britain's youngest office workers say workplace stress has brought them to tears, according to a major new survey of Gen Z professionals. The research found that 47% of workers aged 21 to 25 had been reduced to tears by pressure at work, while 39% have seriously considered quitting within their first year in a corporate job. Shocking statistics. The findings come from the largest 2025 survey of young Britons new to the workplace, commissioned by workforce engagement platform Kahoot and carried out by OnePoll. It questioned 2,000 UK office workers aged 21 to 25 who recently graduated from university. Generational tensions emerged as a key issue, with 44% saying they had been criticized by older colleagues because of stereotypes linked to their age. Why are older colleagues criticizing them due to their age? Where is the training for senior managers and leaders to help support these young people, to help support people into work, to help them reduce the chances of stress and burnout? Because when people feel valued and supported, they perform better in their job role. Now, some people may just say, oh, Gen Z are weak, Gen Z are lazy. But when you consider the life challenges that many Gen Z are facing today, this can be a contributing factor to some of these statistics. Because let's look at this article here. Gen Z and young millennials battling negative wealth as debt burden grows. Many boomers, older generation, were able to buy a house, provide for their family, go to work, use that money to socialize and do other things. Whereas financial burden is massive for the younger generation. Cost of living is crazy. Young people whose debts outweigh their assets are at risk of experiencing blighted earnings and even poorer health. Gen Z and young millennials are battling a negative wealth problem due to growing debt burdens that limit their life chances, according to a new analysis from the Fairness Foundation. The think tank says negative wealth, where debts outweigh assets, is linked to lower wages and worse health in later life, and that ministers should reintroduce the Child Trust Fund to give young people a greater stake in society. And here's a quote, I'm not sure who it's from. Right now, too many people across the UK are living without a financial cushion or are burdened by debt, said Will Snell, the Fairness Foundation's chief executive. This strips them of resilience in the face of economic shocks and shuts them out of well-documented benefits that even modest asset ownership brings in terms of future earnings and employment, physical and mental health, and civic engagement. So these are things that contribute to burnout and stress, right? When we're having to be resilient with our finances, and I say I'm not a Gen Z, but I'm a millennial. We have to be resilient with our finances. Can we then use that resilience in the workplace too as well? Now, let's just quickly go back to the first report because, alarm raised around gaps in healthcare, as those aged 18 to 24 are 3 times more likely to have needed time off due to deteriorating health caused by NHS waits than those aged 55 and above. NHS waits, let's not talk about that. The NHS is an amazing organisation, but the wait times, have been not good in recent years. And it appears younger generations are less able to enjoy a work-life balance too, with just 1/3 of 18 to 24-year-olds agreeing with this statement that they could switch off from work when they needed to, compared with 46% of those aged 55 and above. Now, this is just a call to all employers and companies to support employees. And it's a call to all managers and leaders to support Gen Z and the younger generation. You get so much value and benefit from supporting people, not just personally, not just for the other person, but organizationally. And I've been able to work with some fantastic organizations across my time in business, helping to deliver a range of workshops that help companies support, whether it's their younger employees or whether it's their leadership teams, to ensure that they are having good practices across the organizations to help with their health and well-being. And if you're a forward-thinking company that want to support their employees, feel free to join the mailing list. The link is in the description box, where I send out free resources that help companies support their employees. But I'll also leave all links to all of these articles in the description box so that you can read them and check them out for yourself. But until then, remember, a happy workforce is a productive workforce.